Oh, hey all. Welcome to Alchemy Within from Out Amongst the Stars. And today we are going to talk a little bit about the nodes. So, what's just recently happened is we've had a nodal shift, and that was on July 17th. So, when just after our new moon in July 17th, 2023. And to start with, we'll talk a little bit about what the nodes are, and we we had it shift from Taurus and Scorpio to that was the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio for the last 18 months to the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. So if you're interested to find out how that affects you directly in your chart and what houses of your chart, meaning what areas of your life that is going to affect, yeah, you could just reach out to me. You can either send me an email question. I would, if you look back, there was a little special on. So if the special's still on, I can honor that. But you can email me at Diana canbefreed@gmail.com. I'll show that at the end, or we'll have the link to the form you could fill out with your birth data, and you just send your question in there, and I will touch base with you from there. So we can either do email or we can do a recorded Zoom, just like this. So what are the nodes? The nodes of the moon. They're not planets. They're actually calculated points, and they provide guidance, and it's where the moon ecliptic crosses the sun ecliptic. So that meeting point is essentially been described as your sun's spirit and your vital life, where that crosses your moon's mission. And of course your moon, it has all to do with your emotional body and your subjective reality, and basically how you work through what you feel about your life's path. And when these nodes are activated in the ecliptic energy, we're designed to track and predict, well, through the Western tropical astrology anyway, a very karmic and fated experience. And so the nodes of the moon are very significant, especially when there is an eclipse. So that is when the nodes are near the sun or the moon. And we usually have eclipses few times a year, usually a couple, and they actually, there's usually one every within 2 weeks of each other. So our next eclipse is actually in October. So we're a little ways away from that, but that doesn't change the fact that we had this nodal change, and how that's going to feel different for you. To the Taurus, it was the resource and money and nature and food and that sort of that house of building, and it's very earthy, very, very earthy. It's about the five senses. And the Scorpio is the deep and underground, the depth, the passion, the power, the what's in the underworld, the death and rebirth. So it could have been a lot of the South Node being in Scorpio, a lot of letting go. I know for me, it was in my career house. So here I am in nature, doing YouTube videos. So to talk about the astrology and share with you all the knowledge that I am learning as I go as well. I also do empowerment coaching, and also do have another wellness tool that can scan energies and look at all of that. So if you're in any kind of need for some guidance, and you feel you want to combine the astrologies and as well all the astrology archetypes to see where things are at for you, as well as get some guidance and coaching. And I have some have some experience with that to help you through any kind of transitions or confusion, or trying to find like what's your path and your purpose and where are you headed, and what may have happened, what might events have you gone through that are holding you back in life, and those underground trauma type things that may be coming to surface here, and all these crazy energies that we're experiencing. Now, however, getting back to the nodes, so if you ever are born under the influence of an eclipse, you will find that you have a really, really strong, destined, passionate purpose in life. You have a very, very pointed mission and calling, like that you just can't. It's like you just can't stop yourself, and it's not going to feel comfortable, because that North Node is the area where you just haven't been before. In bringing in the South Node, the way I interpret them anyways, is kind of that backpack you brought in from your previous life, and that that skill set, or that energy and how that feels, and what to do with it. The North Node is a very soul level, so that's why it's nice to get to know your astrology, because you get to experience yourself sort of from that blueprint and a snapshot of your soul when you were born, especially when you know your birth time, which is incredibly important for your rising sign. And yeah, if you had been born under eclipse, it'd be interesting to see that too, and then you'll know sort of where it's just confirmation, it's validation on that path that you're on. So the North Node is also in this Vedic astrology, which I don't study, but it's also known and referred to as Rahu, and it's like the dragon's head. And then there's K2, which is the South Node, that's the dragon's tail. And basically it's once we surrender to the need to focus on what's familiar in that South Node, and the mastery of our comfort zone in the South Node, and find ways to nourish the North Node, or kind of go towards it and put ourselves in those uncomfortable, unfamiliar situations, we can start to feel a lot more fully aligned and fulfilled in our soul, like who we truly are. I know for me, I had a whole different life path, career, and I know I'm meant to communicate. I didn't know I was meant to communicate this, but this is where my North Node has sent me. My North Node's in Pisces. That's a very spiritual house, or sorry, very spiritual sign. And it's in my second house of career. So that is a, really validating thing to know, which I would have never understood before knowing and learning my chart. So it's about also, like, it's not like you actually completely leave my my South Node being in Virgo. It's not like you can completely leave that behind. That's the one who organizes and does the details and all those kinds of things. So I can't be all completely in the interconnected kind of oneness of the world. I still need to have that South Node Virgo in me. And then, so where's your opposite, right? So integrating those two and having that healthy balance of, what's your skill set? What did you bring in? What's familiar? Where is your natural gifts, talents, and abilities? And then being able to integrate that whole new, unfamiliar, uncomfortable place that is actually more in line with your soul and what you're called to do in this growth of or in the experience of this lifetime, and the growth of your soul, and to help you blossom, of course, in very beautiful ways. And it's very fated, and it'll allow you to find your destiny and your alchemy within from everything that you have been through, and where you're meant to be. So it's very important to understand this, even though it doesn't happen usually until around that 37 or 38, where some kind of shifts may start to happen in life. But at least if you're prepared, knowing what your North Node is trying to guide you to, you be more willing to take those uncomfortable steps. So now, July 27th or 17th, sorry, 2023, the lunar nodes had a shift in the collective. So I've spoke a little bit about my personal ones, and like as I mentioned, we can look at yours. But collectively, we had a nodal shift, and they move in retrograde. They move in reverse. So it worked its way through, the North Node worked its way through Taurus. It got to 0 Taurus, and now it's in 29 degrees of Aries. And again, with the South Node being in Scorpio, it's now in 29 degrees of Libra. So this Aries Libra axis, what does it mean? And it's essentially initiating this new karmic path, and it will be part of our collective energy for the next 18 months. So until January 2025, we will be in this new nodal energy, and it's a very important one because because it's an Aries, that's such an initiating energy. Like that's a first sign of the zodiac, right? So we may want to start to really tune in to what we want for us, yourself, yourself, and I. It is more of an I am energy, and you're encouraged to integrate, of course, that North Node and what it's calling you to with the South Node energy, as I mentioned before. But the Aries North Node is shining you towards self. It is the I am energy. And, where can you be your own shining star out amongst the stars and turn up the voltage as the initiator. So it gives you the permission to find what lights you up. This isn't then as much about the other. That'll be the South Node default, where you'll want to go and doing everything for everyone else. But this is a really great time to look at what does your soul want you to do for you, prioritizing your own goals, moving your energy. Also, it's a fire. It's a movement, action oriented, take initiative, cardinal energy of Aries. Wants you to move. How can you move your body, gain strength in your body, gain strength in you yourself, and embrace your soul warrior to take action towards what it is that you really want. And you want to be able to take that movement and make yourself do things in an action-oriented way to help shift that may be stuck. If you find yourself in defaulting into that Libra energy, which we'll talk about, which is a lovely Venusian energy. However, it is also about looking after the other before yourself. So pioneering new ideas. What is it that you want to bring into the world that's creative and new? And that is something that has been calling to you. It's very self-oriented, and you want to show up in your own soul strength as yourself. Where are you going to be brave and bold and confident, and start to, it also is that initiator where it starts to want to wake others up. And you're going to maybe wake them up in the sense of oh, wow, she's doing these things for herself and not all for me anymore, right? And where are you going to feel that, be that free, wild, honest self that you have always had in you, calling to you to, look at where, where you want to take charge of your own life. So even though relationships and interdependence are really important as a human, it's also important that you do what you want to do for you. You need to look after your own health first and foremost to be good for anyone else, right? Rather than operating in behind the shadows of anyone else. So, where Do you have that tendency though to, be a bit codependent or a people pleasing? You do have to watch, because you don't want to take the low road of the Aries and get angry, because they tend to be wanting to be the warrior, the fighter. When you're expressing these self-initiating energies, you want to do so in a constructive way. You want to express it in a healthy way, not in a angry or aggressive way. This is about being, assertive and using all that energy as rocket fuel in order to, allow you to take initiative in what you want and initiate and discover your own values. But it's not about the fight. And you have to watch that, because the Aries does have a tendency to want to get on the fight, right? So the South Node is the default, because it's comfortable, and it represents that area that you feels really familiar. So what you likely brought in from a past life, and it's very comfortable, and it's really those things that you were like, oh yeah, that's easy to me, like, I mean, I remember just being able to look after the details in all my jobs and organize and, do all of the methodical sort of be of service type of work. It was just easy to me. It just was a natural to track everything and just look after it. And that was natural. And then I find now that I'm going more towards the North Node in Pisces, and I kind of can get into the more of the mystical oneness realm, that sometimes details don't happen as easily, and all of like wanting my house all organized and clean and everything very, very, perfect, that all has shifted too. It's so interesting, because people used to make fun of my Virgo and that whole cleaning stuff with the Q-tip and everything having to be perfect has just gone out the window in some regards. But we still have to keep that present, right? And so it is going to feel unfamiliar as you move towards that North Node, but you have to watch you don't totally default back into the South Node. So you want to alchemize all your experiences and find, explorations and integrations of those backpacks of all those karmic lessons and gifts that you brought in energetically from the past lifetime. You'll feel compelled to, especially in the beginning, like in those, like later 30s and 40s, you'll feel really compelled to really fall back into that area of your chart, whatever that is, and we can look at that again personally for you. But right now, collectively, we're going to want to maybe fall back into that Libra and making everybody happy and people pleasing and codependency and, doing all everything has to be balanced and in harmony for everyone else and not looking after your own soul self, right? So it's extremely important as we move into this collective Aries North Node and the South Node of Libra, that you do look after you in some regard. However, that's going to show up. It's going to show up in different areas of your chart, because you have your 12 houses and your Aries and Libra axis. You'll want to look at where that is, and then see what, I guess, new environmental seeds you want to plant in that Aries area. It might be home and family, it might be your career, it might be your spirituality, it might, it might be amongst your day-to-day life, or different areas depending on however that's going to come about. And as I mentioned, in your own chart, that happens around 38 to 40, but that's for you specifically. And if you're older than that or around there, you can look at that, your own North Node, and see, where you need to blossom and where your spiritual development really needs to take place. And so as we step into this Aries North Node, we want to feel that area of our chart where we want to look after us, where we're going to feel like we are, more importantly, going to have our needs met. We're going to take some courageous moves. We're going to find our confidence, and then we are also going to allow the balance of our relationships. And we don't want to, like I said, end up rocking the boat too much and end up in a fight mode of Aries. You want to end up in using it constructively and using it as fuel. So that South Node is necessary, of course, to feel fulfilled in life and overcoming any of your obstacles when you are shifting. And as we shift collectively now into the North Node in Aries, we have to watch that default Libra. So what might that look like? Like I mentioned, that people-pleasing mode, the codependency, dynamics in the partnership are, going to show up maybe as, might be a little bit of letting go of the partnership being the first and foremost, for you. Also keeping up with appearances. The lower road of Libra is just being too vain, right? So you want to also release any of the trap behaviors and patterns or cycles that are in that Libra mode and go towards the, living boldly for you, courageous, self-sufficient, finding your own autonomy, finding your own sovereignty in certain things, and prioritizing your needs while you still have some balance in your partnerships and other people. And then as this transit happens, hopefully it can bring about people looking after them from, and then, with our, Pluto also going into Aquarius, from more of the grassroots up and more in sovereignty and more as our individual selves in the collective, in the community, bringing our own soul callings together to, have a more harmonizing community wherever it is you live, and who, amongst your family and your own friends. And then also you want to, deal with these karmic lessons that have shown up in our interpersonal relationships as well. So, if you had this in your natal chart, the Libra South Node does come in knowing how to harmonize and compromise and look after everyone else before themselves. But in the collective, wherever this area is showing up for you and this next 18 months, we just have to make sure that, you are looking after you and not being too much of the peacemaker all the time to the detriment of whatever it is that you need to be initiating in that Aries energy. And, Aries is a starter. It allows people to move others and shift others and get people up and moving. And so you'll want to release the tendency to be in that, I'll just go along to get along and, pleasing everyone else just to keep the peace. And put yourself first as the first and foremost thing, and watch the codependency and being afraid to rock the boat, or choosing not to combine your own assertion in a courageous way or self, disciplined way with your actions towards what it is that you really want in your soul. And, just watching that passive aggressive behavior as well. And, who you're attached to, essentially. So in this lifetime, where we are all here with our own set of North and South nodes. Again, mine natally are Pisces and Virgo. Collectively, right now, we're going into Aries and Libra. If you have that natally, you have brought in a real need to want to please others and be in a supportive role of everyone else and do what's best for everyone else. And if you have a tendency then towards doing that, it's really important, especially with this collective energy, to really start to look after what it is that you want and put yourself first and access your own independence and sovereignty and allow yourself to feel free and a little bit wild, and be honest with yourself about what it is you truly want. Where is that wish list? We wrote some intentions for the new moon, which was just before, or just a few hours before this. You know, what it is that you really want. Take courageous action steps, Aries action steps towards doing those things, and pay attention to where you cave and compromise and show up pleasing others and in codependency in order to not rock the boat. So that is where we're at with this collective shift. Again, we'll be in this Aries North Node moving through whatever house that is for you, and Libra South Node until January 2025. The next 18 months, we'll have these energies in. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shows up in our world collectively, as well as in your own personal world. And if you want to look at your own chart, where your nodes are, what your nodes, what energies they are, what houses they're in, and also where your Aries and Libra, what planets they're hitting in what areas of your chart in the with this collective nodal change it's going to hit, can totally reach out for a personalized reading. You can email me through the form or through my email, which is dianacanbefreed@gmail.com. And I have a really reasonable email special on right now for, just some quick questions if you don't want to do like a full, Zoom meeting. I know everybody's been through this North Node and Taurus, and it was a lot of tightening up our resources, that's for sure. So I thank you all for being here today, and until the next time, we can all work on our alchemy within from out amongst the stars, and we will see you again soon. Bye for now, everyone.